E lewa tātou se e mai I le tātou ulua I por kalame o le Hamo Chats. Mo le lua afe, lua suluma leono, our very first episode of Hamo Chats for 2026. And I'm very honored to welcome and introduce our guests for this afternoon. We're honored to be joined by two powerhouse figures in Pacifica arts, the whionga ia Tau'ili'ili Alpha Maiava and Yuki Kihara, the co-founders of Talanoa Arts Forum. They're here to talk about the upcoming Sāmoa Arts Fono, a first of its kind 3-day gathering in Apia, bringing together artists, creatives, researchers, policymakers, and cultural leaders from across Samoa and the wider Moana. I le avatele ma le whāloalo I te tauai. Ia, o te whawhilo e atu, whatalo whātu. Ia, I lo whionga Tau'ili'ili. Ia, mai se, ia Yuki, ia, mliu mai, whio mai I le tātou por kalame. I le nei vaenga o le awhiawhi.
Tai le sa le ngata foi le ia po la fianga foi mtona I fai ia lo leo I fai masui o le mama tanga nei mal tu fine la ititi ia Yuki Kihara ma te fa ta lo fa tu ai ma o fo lo fa tu le mama lo fo le tato tunu le ngata foi le o le pa ia lasi la o fa ngolongo le o ngolongo sua le por kalam after tele ma mo le avano tu ina mai ava tu fo I fa so I le nei fo I mi le fiafi very honored to hear that we are the first to kick off the year. Hopefully that's a positive outcome to dominate and be the rule of thumb I le nei fu ia o te lenga na so ato. But from both of us, talo falava.
Malo. Malo, so for my me five time or five no ino lo time. I know you two are very busy. Yeah, mai se yeah ua to seanga na tatu tawatu lea. Yeah, ile amatanga le tatu fa moi pe ona ele Samoa Arts Forum. Now to kind of kick us off, yeah. The Talanoa Arts Forum, grounded in obviously your individual shared work as creatives, as artists. But what led you to realize that Samoa needed a platform like this, like the Talanoa Arts Forum? Malengang whāloa.
Yuki, I'll pass it on to my sister Yuki to respond to that from Mole.
Yeah, my name is Yuki Kihara. I'm the co-founder and co-director of the Talanoa Arts Forum. So I moved back to Samoa 12 years ago. And since then, I found that there are artists who have been very actively working here in Samoa, but many of them work in silos. And the scene was very fragmented. And I've tried several attempts to bring them together, but failed a couple of times. And I realized that this is not a job that is required just for one person. It needs a whole team of people. And when I found out that Tau'ili'ili was coming back from the Middle East and he was going to move back to Samoa last year, and he hasn't lost his passion for music, so we've decided that we would form a NGO registered here in Samoa as Talanoa Arts Forum to help establish the infrastructure where local artists could benefit from. So we have an active group of writers, musicians, visual artists, heritage artists, fashion designers, music composers. They are also, there's so many of them, and we're not just focusing on the independent state, we're also focusing those across Samoa Atoa, or the archipelago, including American Samoa. So one of our first initiatives is to establish the Sāmoa Arts Fono, which is a 3-day gathering happening here in Upolu Island across 3 days. Presented on the 4th, 5th, and the 6th of March. And we'll be announcing our full lineup of speakers, venues, and registration on Monday, the 2nd of February.
Awesome. Malo whawhetai. Yuki, you've mentioned bringing all these people from different walks of life, the artists, whatufunganga or tufunga, our policymakers, academics, our songwriters. Why is it important that these voices speak to each other? You mentioned coming back home from overseas after 12 years and seeing that, a lot of these artists were working in silos. Tell us, why is it important that we bring these artists together and not, not just in their own, their villages and in their own communities?
Okay, so I've been working like in the gallery and the museum sector for over the past 2 decades. So when it comes to that sector, I know how it operates, but I have no idea about how the music world operates.
Right.
Right? I have published books, but I am not necessarily from the literary world. I'm not from the publishing world, so there are some few gaps in my knowledge about how these various artistic disciplines work. I've also worked with tufungas and awalumas in many different projects, but again, they all work very differently from district to district. So it was important that I would partner with somebody like Tau'ili'ili, who is knowledgeable across many art sectors in Samoa. And then so what we're doing is to put our heads together and to see if we could find a perhaps a universal solution. Given our expertise in two different fields, I come from the from art, and then he comes from music. Although our disciplines are very specific, there are things that we cross over. In terms of like production management and legislations and policies and so on and so forth. So what's really lacking here in Samoa is the infrastructure that enables artists to thrive. And then we know what that looks like for the Samoan artists in the diaspora. But that's something that we would like to help establish here so that the artists here could also equally thrive. Another thing that I find it really interesting is that, a person like yourself, you're amazing songwriter and singer, you've released, music and a music video, and, everybody loves what you do. And then so we find that all the artists in the diaspora, in a way, they are Samoa's unofficial cultural export. And then you're also an amazing ambassador for our country and our culture. But a lot of what you do in the diaspora overseas often doesn't necessarily sort of trickle down here in Samoa. So what we need to do as well is to also establish the infrastructure, so that when somebody like yourself arrive in Samoa, you already have a network of people that you can tap onto so that you can have your workshops, networking, business opportunities, concerts, ticketing, security, PR, and all those things all ready to go. And that's something that Talanoa Arts Forum would like to provide. Tauili'ili, do you want to add something to that?
No, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head in terms of the onus of why we want to do this. But just a little bit in terms of expanding on what Yuki was sharing, the trickle down, love Periscope, love Sole Mio, love Moana. Those are, they draw from our culture. We love Lansavali around the world. They're flying the Samoan flag. But it's ele naman we are the diaspora. Uh, so when you look at, let's say, look on the city of my name, for instance, Civic Cars and Motherland, Mifapina, amazing. We love it. But the majority of those finances are paid from the Australian promoters to the artists who live in America. And then when they come, they bring the entire sound and the umama workers. And so very rarely the percentage of the locals participating, other than the average security guard and the overpriced hot dog and some we see sometimes, it doesn't really get felt here. So this is the first of many. We're not the answer to the question, but this is the first of many. We're contributing, hoping that matayo na faule the industry of support so that artists like yourselves, artists like, I keep saying Periscope because at the moment she's everywhere.
Yeah.
We'd like her to hold a workshop in Samoa, but we understand there's a standard. So
Mali.
using our combined knowledge, we want to get it up to a standard where she would be confident to put her hard-working brand to come here in Samoa and run a workshop. So it's to facilitate. If now, I don't find out Samoa that are doing amazing around the world. That are trying here, that prefer to live here, or in better words, that can't leave the island, so they just make music, make arts from here. So ole so ngata wow don't face so ole ula, so that I mean we are the for the solution to
Mali.
Samoan culture getting out. It would nice to be going it through our own people, in a in a nutshell.
Malo
And
whaftai.
to also,
Oh yes,
yeah,
sorry,
and to
Fawa.
also strengthen the, yeah, sorry,
Okay.
just to add to what Tauili'ili said, and to also strengthen the pathways between the islands, you know? So it's not just the diaspora come to Samoa, but for Samoa to also go abroad. And and if these artists want to be based from Samoa, great. If not, that's great. But I kind of feel like by what we're doing, by strengthening our infrastructure here, I feel like um, uh, uh, the cultural exchange between Samoa and the diaspora is much more strengthened. Yeah, we can, be mutually beneficial for everybody.
Yeah. Malo whaftai mo whaasoa tāua ia o nei vaenga ia, and hopefully oto mai and kind of touch on some of the points that have been raised. Talking about infrastructure, yeah, le so tanga leo, I think sa lele ale sa noanga leo, from and I what the reality is, from my perspective as a diaspora artist, o mātoia le ai tau malele mai whafo. Sa lele lava le sa noanga le yuki, e tele ia ma lo fionga Tauili'ili. Sometimes, when we come home, we do these concerts, amazing, putting on these shows, but there's also sometimes we miss the maki le so tanga le matato locals and feeding back into the locals. O lea se fe au mai lua fionga, either one of you, Yuki or Tauili'ili, foi lea as a call out to obviously the Sāmoa Arts Forum is an opportunity. The first of its kind, I guess, in the private sector for Samoa. O lea se fe au ta ua mo I mātou. Ia, mai se nisi o I lātou tama whanau o le tātou atunuu that lo au mau I whafo. How can we obviously attending the forum would be amazing, but what's lea se au wala ta ua, because I know there are a lot of artists who would love to come back home, have the opportunity to come back home and connect, but sometimes there's missing pieces ile sotanga lea. What can we do to connect with the Talanoa Arts Forum, moleanga I luma, to build this infrastructure le lua te saunoa I le vaenga le wha mole Tauili'ili ma Yuki.
Yuki?
So our aim at Talanoa Arts Forum is to be a point of contact for diverse artistic expressions. And I understand the sentiments of our artists in the diaspora wanting to connect here, but I also want them to see Samoa as a place where they can also build their audience. where they can also build their market, right? And for them to also meet the local artists that are also working here with the possibility of generating collaborations and things like that. So we're here to facilitate and establish that infrastructure. So we become the point of contact, for our diaspora artists to meet their contemporaries here in Samoa.
Malofa fetai.
And
Oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah,
Tau'ili'ili.
it's about now go to sort of le fono fa pia to le fa so yuki is this is the first of its kind. We're hoping that it won't be the last. But we encourage people to, if they want to find out more about the Sāmoa Arts Fono itself, it's going to, like Yuki was sharing before, leso mo leso fa, leso lona lua, leso lima, ia ma leso mo muli tolu ia so leso ono, aso umane o le masina o mati. O le taimile nei, o le ese uma ia venue so tato fontang. O le aso mo leo le a whaia tia papata Art Center, leo lo te ina la fionga ia ngalamana Steve Percival, le aso lona lua, ia o le e whakasa museum I Malua, I fo I le lau mo le whakasa, leo lo te ina le sunga whawhianga ngea penato, ma le whalitua ia Susana, o le aso lona tolu la, le mato te wha moe o le a whaia I le o whanga museum, po le research museum, ma le universite le papa ngala. Ia, o le taimile nei, e na o le tai 5 lea whainga o tangata per day, o na le mafuanga, ia e nau tai, ia mawhai o nau whai mai lātou o loo patino, ia ile nei, tau whainga mai wha moe. We're looking for artists, participants, I tāua ia te I lātou wha tūwhunanga ese nepe ne sa unua, o le awala lai mawhai o na awa yele to telefo le atunu ya malua be fale le lavang ma kupi o mai o ko Samoa but in mafai on a share to in a matter website o le Talanoa Arts Forum.ws o lo yai lunga ina fa mau o le tato fontanga nei ya male awala fo I mafai ona e le sitala pe a fai te suma I Samoa ale ngata fo ile pa fai o se artist o e ala Samoa e tala le no paula le me mana mia o le listala ina ia mafai ona ma lava tapena a fai alu ia suanga vatele ai o mai tono poru na so o e fisu mai la faina paula le senga e free pa ele stala ai ola ia ile tau lo os falava mai le so le nau ta inga ina ia mafai ona no fota pena I vainga ese so nisina fa mau ngatu sai fo male malu fo le atunu o lo fia awai mai I le aso le o tato fontanga ia malo fa lo te
O le o sofa lava ko ngia le lancho le aso ngā le sa o le Tau'ili'ili.
ko ngia pa se le
Malofa fetai. I se vainga lau tele looking, if you don't mind me asking, ia male I le vainga lau tele Pasifika. Te mineo tele o tele o iloa po iai se isi whanotanga ia po se whaala potopotonga whapea I nisi vaenga le Pasifika. Is there any plans of extent of, obviously we want to build Samoa and the infrastructure and the capacity in Samoa. Is there an opportunity for, I guess, this to spread, or, spreading the same template to our other island brothers and sisters in Polynesia, Micronesia, and Melanesia?
Thank you for that question. Whaftailava mole Fesili. So since we've released our press release, we've been approached from those in the Cook Islands. There's those in Wellington and many other islands who are now looking towards what we do to see if they can do what we do in their place. So they're now actually currently working towards participating in our Fono so that, they can work with us and find mutual pathways for partnerships. But we are primarily focused on developing the local scene here in Samoa. And then in terms of like partnering with other Pacific Islands, we're only interested in partnering other developing Pacific countries. Yeah, so that's our mission, is to strengthen the creative industry sector across the developing Pacific Island states.
Alo whaftai. Tauiliili se vaenga fia whapopo le fisili le?
Ia, so se mea lava. Iai lava na nau ta inga a whai a mata mea ai manuia. I think o se mea le lei matatau o le whaasoa lea. Ai le ngata fo i lea tanga i le atu pona mo aso timu, i le ngata mo i tātou. Ai whaapia fo i le mamalua tātou usom tua whaafine i tona le Pasifika. Le anga maftanga nei e matua atu nei lo le whaakoronese. O le mele talanga whai Sāmoa i fiti uwea tonga ma i tu umale o le Moana. Le anga maftanga na whau o tātou tua a tātou te i o mai o lea. A whaila tātou te talanoa i ne tau ma whai whaamalosi au i so tanga wha le Moana po le wha Pasifika. Ia, o le nau ta inga nau mea se i whai mua na mātou i Samoa a tonu a manuia, a iai se vaenga i naim whai no whaasoa. Ia no tātou titiro le whaapea. Pea whaapea tangi mai o tātou uso, ia o lea whai mea lai mana o mia. I think the total outcome of that and that macro level, le tau ma whai e whausia by having o tātou uso ma tua whawhina ma tutuila. E o mai tātou te tau whai whaasoa. Whia ngai ale pau ma le pau. O lai fo ia mai la tau atisi fia ngai ma tātou atisi e vaenga leo mai fiti ma Aotearoa. Ia, i whaapea le amatanga a vai amanuia, ia o le formula lea tātou lea whaasoa atu. Mo sisi mana o mia, o na nau tau ta inga lea, e tala foi lea, e le milionea umi ia, e le milionea forever New Zealand ma Australia. A vai na ai kipi kakau e funding al vaenga na, a le ua toi mautu maula ola tātou so o tanga ma fit, ia o tahit, o Vanuatu, ia manisi lava motu e te ese Pasifika. Toi whaola ia tātou tau mo whainga peo na awai e tua i vaitaimi o te atu, ia peo se tala pupu ule ala o fionga sa.
Malo whaftai. Le ua lama whai ule tātou whaasoa, but I guess one of the questions that I do want to ask is i le vale o le, with regards to growth as artists and our art versus, the preserving of our culture and the cultural elements of our arts. And I guess what I'm trying to ask is how do we build and grow this creative economy and infrastructure that we're trying to build without, I don't know if jeopardizing is the right word, or without diluting or misrepresenting whatatau ale mo tātou Samoa, the Samoa and the Moana culture in our arts. Is lea se lua whina ngalo fuile, just a bit of a side in terms from the forum, but how can we grow that creative infrastructure and that economy without, I guess, it being seen as commodifying or diluting ia le tātou wha Samoa, ma le tātou anga nuu, as kind of a side note to, I guess, the general spirit o le tātou whontanga, ma le nganga whaloalo.
Yeah, lava mo le fesili. I think that it's about, so if you're an artist and you're asking that question yourself, what you need to ask yourself is who is the audience that you want to empower with what you do.
Yeah.
So if you know the audience that you want to empower, then the question about authenticity is not a topic. Yeah. So what, in my own practice and in Tau'ili'ili's own practice, I mean, we both prioritize, the Samoan, Indigenous Pacifica community as our core audience. And we're not necessarily here to make things that they like, but we're here to make art to communicate to our audience. Because whether the audience like it or not, they still benefit from it because they get to participate in a dialogue should they wish to participate in this dialogue. So we're not here to make everybody happy with what we do, but in the event that somebody wants to respond and engage with us, becomes a very enriching experience. And I always kind of feel like I'm very grateful to be Samoan. I'm very lucky to be Samoan because I feel like our culture is very specific to us, but there are messages that are very universal. And you find that in the success of many Samoan artists that are working globally, you know? So I kind of feel like as artists, if we are, the more we are very specific to the audience that we want to empower, the more universal our work becomes. Yeah, the more specific you are, the more universal it becomes.
Alofa aftai. Tau'ili'ili?
O le tāua i o vaenga nei o whaatuwhananga i to tono o le anganu Samoa. E le ngata le ngangana. O le taunu mea kolonese na sui i le fua o le what is a Samoan. E te ia lewa ma mawhata ato i le ngangana. Tātala i titi fo i lalo ia vaenga that they later categorize as entertainment. Mantua Samoa sa le ia i se category o meni o whaafia fianga. O le pese e apalai le pese i no nau ngā ma le wha moi fo i o saunianga ia fa Apia fo i la nisi o tātou pese siva ia po pese iai o na ngai o inga o le o langale nei o le artist o le vaenga le o tātou kusa pe o tātou le mirror o mea whaaleanga nu ua mau atu a la iei longa o na whaiala ua utala i la utam whainga o tam whaia whaola mea si ngā Samoa taipe o whangu ia tui ma ili ofe o la ua uia maketi o le tupulanga ai sea ona ua to tele tunu ele mfaito i ofi tato i tono Samoa pe ato i foi ma e ia ile vai taimi o le a fai ai o tato i le masina ia what will those Samoans stick with them if amanatu ai le mea na watu o tato talatu o wha maunga o ngafa o mea nei ia e tu mai le au atisi na tau te whai nga luenga nei e tu watu ia me whai ei mana tu na tungo le au wha matala up o le au whai up o le au fwoi lolo e le te i maua nga up o le tunu o le atisi ma le wha tufunanga o le lato wao ngane ai to tonu lava i o le sao ina ia wha ola le pe Samoa pe mai sunga yuki to continuously be proud of being Samoan e mana o mia le ato on the parameters of identity i ngata i le ngana o na wha leonga o na pa o ia ma vai ngai ses o le au ngane o tātou a tonu e titi to telo tangata if this is not your field para tātou nei o artisi this is our contribution as Sosoania ina ia sui whainga ai tu mau wha vai o wha Samoa moro nā rua rulu mai le tala foile o le anga nuu e taipeo le ta vale mo na paus le itulo a aru le ta vale e tatau o na whai ma sui palai o le pa wa ale sui e aru le ta vale le rim le ai longi rim tu le ta vale tu le anga nuu so for the culture to enable itself to continue be valid yep o tātou whelanu nanu wai. E o tuai le lua afe tolu lua. The culture is still as prideful, as honorable as it is. I le lua afe lua ono. E o stai pui punga ai umilong siu siu.
Whawhetai mo le oa whasoa. Whawhetai mo le whasoa le il tūlanga lea. I guess back to the fono. Final thoughts and any last words and encouragement, I guess, for any of our artists who are listening in, who are kind of like, oh, should I go? Should I? Oh, well, I'm telling you now, you should go. But you want to hear it straight from Tauiliili and Yuki. Yeah, lea selu saunoanga whaiu. Yeah, mai se nisi vaenga ua le whaiona tau atu le teimi o le tātou whatanoanga. Anything we might have missed in our Talanoa this afternoon. Yeah, tu atu lewa noa I loa fionga, ma le nganga whaloano.
Yeah, please visit our website, talanoaartsforum.ws. You'll find about the information of the programs that we're presenting this year, and then you'll also find the information about the Sāmoa Arts Fono in our website. We will formally announce the full lineup of our speakers, the venue, and registration for the Sāmoa Arts Fono on Monday, the 2nd of February 2026. So please connect with us over social media on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
E le ngata foi le fono fa Apia te yuki. E ia inisia mapolo ke til nei tausanga ato. So, nei te iwa le maua se avanoa tātou te whailoa i le Sāmoa Arts Fono nei masina o mati. Folo mai pe lunga o tātou lau pepa le, o le Talanoa Arts Forum le ngata le i lona lau pepa au pengo te whailangi. E whaapea fo i le tusi o fōlinga pena tā ua le tunau. Moli atu le whaatai, lau whionga mtona i tu sei fo i male avanoa wha au o tu ina mai ati ima ua mali tua whina nei. Watu e fo i se whaasoa Tau'ili'ili ma whaamana malama atu. Ia le ngata le ma uatau ma whainga le nei o le Talanoa Arts Forum. But o le fono tanga le nei o le Sāmoa Arts Fono. Lea ua loma nei mo le aso whao mati se ia pa ia le aso ono. Ia. O tau mawhainga whaapene, ia le tala vo le tongi pele o pe mai tau le i le upenga o pili ai whangota pe. Ia nau ta inga, ia se ngā ai a tongi atu a tasi le ia. Ia o roma na amata le whasima, se ki lou nungu tu male afi le te ma wale kona stone. O le nau ta inga, a misi i, e whau wa i le tatu tau mawhainga, e marisi mea o maua matena no hui Samoa. We can't go anywhere pe a misi mua, o le turn around ko e whau longa lua. Ia matatou. Ole e fautela le tatou va ia wala mo foi le tupulanga tala va Samoa ia ona tangata no ia wa Samoa ile pules tangata to tasi na tatou ile pe tonga tasi tupu Samoa e tupu Samoa no ia fatu ia pe o se so atu le mo de tula fa tai tu sai foi male ava no fa euro pe anto e fai lo atu a fia malama tatou por kalambe Talanoa Arts Forum .ws ia po le tatou tu si folinga foi o leo o atu no fa maunga the lead up i le tātou tamwhainga man wha mo ia ai fo ini si fia malamala mātili o tātou lau pepa nai luan whaina so ta ima iai malau u whaalo nawa whaatai le sā
Malo whaftai, velo u le whatau wha e whai masui le porkalame nei, mo le atu le ngang whaftai, i lo fionga Tau'ili'ili, ia mise, ia lo sunga yuki, whaftai mo le whavanoi no lua taimi, whaftai foi mo le lua sao, ua loa lua tautua ia i le tātou atunu, e ala i le whalele ino le tātou tangawa i atunu i mamao, e ala i lua whātufunganga o te le se luatu, yeah, ulua masani. I have to take this time to acknowledge I lua sao, yeah, whaftai lewa wa esto fa ia ile naitu ia e wa ia le lumanai mo le whaatufunganga i Samoa e ala le nei platform, e ala le nei fontanga ia maise le Talanoa Arts Forum. So we wish you all the best, and we look forward to hearing news and seeing updates, and hopefully see you in March. But moi latou, toi whamana atu, moi latou e fia awai i le Samoa Arts Fono, le ulua i fontanga lea, i lalo le whaamalu le Talanoa Arts Forum, o le aso wha, ia le aso lima ma le aso ono o mati, tausanga nei lua awhilu sulono, e mwhaina maua nisi whamtalanga i lunga le upenga te whailangi, www.talanoaartsforum.ws. You can find them on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, mea umalava e maua ia le fionga ia Tau'ili'ili, ia ma le sunga ia yuki. You'll find the updates, but do check out the website. Thank you again for your time. Manuia tele lava tape nanga mo le tātou fontanga.